Hey guys, so I'm up in the mountains camping, boondocking. It's a beautiful day. And today we're going to test out the ALLPOWERS 700w power station. Like I've done with some other batteries, we're going to be putting it through a real world scenario testing. A lot of these batteries will say amazing things like it can charge your phone 125 times, which is actually how many times this can charge your phone. But you know, how does that really work out in a real life scenario? When you're really using it for all day, can you do everything you need to do? So that's what we're going to be testing today. I'm going to pretend that it's a cloudy day and we can't use the solar panels at all. I could charge it off the car if I wanted to run the car, but I want to save my gas because I'm kind of far out. So you can see if it'll run all of my things throughout today and then get me through kind of a chilly night. I'm going to be running my computer all day, my piano keyboard, charging GoPro batteries, running my internet booster, running my cooler. Then once evening comes, I might run my electric blanket, or I might try to see if it'll run my diesel heater, and maybe make some coffee. I have a little water kettle that I'm going to try out with it. So let's see what it can do. Okay, so let's talk a little bit of the details of this. So it's 700 watts. It has 606 watt hours. It has 2 AC outlets that have a continuous wattage of 700 and a surge of 1400. That's a lot. Over here on the side, it has 3 USB connectors that are 5 volt 3 amp. It has 1 USB-C output and input. You can also charge from this. And it has a max outage of 100 watts. It has 2 barrel plug DC outlets. On the other side here, it has your standard solar inputs, a DC barrel and an Anderson connector. And it also has a 12 volt cigarette lighter plug. It's got these fancy little lights here. You can turn 1 or 2 or both. And it has a couple buttons to turn on or off the AC, turn on a DC, that sort of thing. So it's a really simple interface, which is nice. It kind of has this really sleek, minimalist design to it. But I don't really care for how it uses all 3 sides. That means you need to have clearance to all 3 sides. So I really wish everything was just on this front panel. The screen is super easy to read. You can read it. I can read it from here. I can be up, down, angled. I can be in the bright sun. You can see the screen, which is really nice. And the other thing about the screen that I like is it tells you how many hours left you have based on what you're running. So if you're only running one little thing, it'll say you can do that for 50 more hours. If you're running a tea kettle or something like that, this goes down accordingly. So this is the ALLPOWERS solar panel. It's 140 watts, which is quite a lot. Most panels are 100. In the back here, you can plug in USB directly, which is nice. It has a really nice long cord that you can plug in with your DC barrel. It also came with a ton of other stuff. It came with, of course, different adapters. These connectors here. And this is kind of cool if you want to charge a battery. I like that this panel unzips completely. That's kind of nice. You can get into it nicely. And it has legs that flap out. And it unfolds into 4 panels. Can I show you this? Oh gosh. Ta-da! 4. But it's a little cumbersome to use and to move around because of the 4 panels. Okay, so the ALLPOWERS is completely charged up. It's 100% right now. We're going to use it to its maximum today. We're going to see if it can get me through 24 hours using it for whatever I want and see how it does. Okay, so let's start the day off right with some coffee. I just got this little kettle specifically to test this battery. I'm buying so much stuff for my YouTube channel. So this is a 700 watt kettle, and let's see if it runs it. Doesn't have to boil, just hot enough for some coffee here. Okay, the little fan turns on when you have AC. 696. So we could run this for 34 minutes, it says. Which hopefully it'll just take a minute or two. Uh-oh, there's a dead bug in my water. How did you get in there? Okay. That's good. It's almost boiling, actually. Well, maybe my strainer will strain. It's just a little tiny, like little, I don't know what it is, but ant thingy. So that only took us down to 90%. 10% for some coffee. I'll take it. Well, I'm going to filter my bug out. Some protein. Well, this is a lot easier and quicker than getting my whole stove out, setting it up. I have to say, I mean, I got along fine without a big power station before, but this is pretty convenient. Oh, and my bug stayed inside. Yay. Sorry, Mr. Bug. He's just tiny, see? So, yeah, I mean, I got this tea kettle thinking like, oh, I'll just get it to like test this out. But I don't know, it's pretty convenient, guys. Not gonna lie. Now, let's get this thing charging. All right, this little holder holds a couple GoPro batteries, and they need to be charged. Let's see which side. This side. Ooh, I like that I can put you on top, though. Okay, we'll charge that up. I'm going to be working on my laptop all day, so let's get that plugged in. I have this new little fan that I'm trying out. So it's a fan and a light, which is kind of cool. So I'm going to charge it up. I also like, you can like hang it and it'll be a light straight down, or it's actually pretty cool. It doesn't have pass-through charging, so if it's dead and you're trying to charge it, it won't run. But you can have some AA batteries for like backup. There we go. Okay, so we'll charge this guy up. So I have a little igloo cooler here that plugs in. So let's see, that's on the other side. I'm going to alternate out the fridge with my WeBoost internet booster, since they both take a cigarette plug. And I don't have a lot of things that have AC, but my keyboard has the option of AA or AC. So I'm going to plug it into AC here. Okay, that looks like it maybe takes a watt or two. Let's see, I sang a song on the other video. What can I make up? I've got 4 hours left of time on the Allpowers. I've got 4 hours and 15 minutes left in the Allpowers. Will it make it through the day? Time will tell. There you go. Allpowers, your very own jingle. All right, guys, we're gonna charge it up today. It says it's only gonna make it 4 hours with what I've got going, which is not all day. It's down to 89%. So we'll see how it does. Okay, I unplugged everything for just a minute so I can show you where I think I might actually use this battery and store it. It's so skinny and so small. Look at this. Can you believe that? It's gonna fit in this little spot. I can get to all the sides. I can have my little lights at night if I want. Let's see how everything plugs in being back here. So once upon a time, I had installed these little hooks, thinking that like, oh, I'll hang stuff from there, and I've never really used them, but they work fabulously for just keeping this little guy in place. So how cool is that? It's gonna fit in that little spot there. So that's super exciting, and something I wouldn't have searched out for. It was specifically space. Okay guys, so it's been about an hour since my 4 hours and 15 minutes song. You would expect that, it would say 3 hours and 15 minutes, right? After an hour? Well, in fact, it does not. It says somewhere between 4 hours and 19 minutes and 4 hours and 23 minutes. So this went down a little bit. This was at like 78 earlier. So some of my items are probably getting charged. But I wonder how accurate this really is. And if I plug in my internet booster, so it definitely is responding to how many watts are in or out, but how accurate this is interesting. Okay, let's check in with the battery. It still says about 3.5 hours, 59%. All right guys, so I've been running the battery for 5 hours now. It's 6 o'clock. I've been working on my computer all day, recording voiceovers, charging everything, powering my keyboard. I've had the fridge running on and off all day, and the internet's on right now. And let's take a look and see where it is. So it says at this rate, it has 21 hours left. It's at 49%, and it's only pulling 5 watts out. It's running my computer. Almost everything here is charged. It's also running the internet. So I'm a little surprised it's at 49% because I really haven't used it that much. I've just been charging stuff other than my water this morning. It's been running the fridge though, and the fridge pulls a constant like 60 to 70 watts. It's a pretty old cooler. I'm sure the newer ones are much better, but I ran that for quite a few hours today as well. But I still am just wondering how accurate it is. I haven't used it that much, so I'm wondering if there's like some calibration that needs to happen of, maybe over a couple times of charging to full. Okay guys, so now it's time for the moment of truth, the diesel heater. So if you're not familiar with these, my very first video was on the diesel heater. It runs outside, and this pumps heat into my window here. So it comes up here and connects into here once I have it turned the right way. I'm not actually going to be able to test it all night long because my cord is too short. The normal battery I use with this has a different connection and it has a longer cord. But we can at least see if it starts up, and that's the most finicky thing. These diesel heaters take 12 volts and they say 10 amps. And I think if I remember, that's what this has, is 10 amps. So let's see if it's going to run this. It takes kind of a lot of power to start up. Once it's running, it barely uses any power and barely uses any fuel. We're at 48%. Oh, it'll tell us how long it would run it for. That'd be useful if it's right. Start blower. Takes quite a while to start up. This is saying 102 watts, 109, 13, 14. Oh, there it goes. That's the fuel pump. That's the part that is the most finicky. 114, 111. Yep, now it's done. So it's using 4 watts. It really only needs electricity for the startup. Then after that, it all runs on the diesel and just, has enough to maintain the interface. Now it's down to 3 watts. So it would run this for 39 hours now. Isn't that cool? This heater is the coolest thing, I'm telling you guys. You've got to check into it. It's totally worth it. So great. It's totally running it, super hot air coming out. Awesome. I'm gonna shut it down now because this cord is too short for me to go up through the window. But it started it up, which is really, really cool. That's a big game changer. When I first set this up, I had such a hard time finding a battery that would run it. So the fact that this little thing will run it is really, really cool. All right, so now that we know it will run the diesel heater, went through startup and everything like that, it has 45% left. I'm gonna keep using it tonight, charging my computer, watching some videos. Gonna plug in my electric blanket in a bit, and yeah. So it's morning, and the power station has totally run to zero. Last I looked, like maybe 10 minutes ago, it said 20%. And then I was thinking this wasn't quite accurate, and it wasn't accurate in the opposite way I thought. I've just been running my internet off of it this morning, and it said it still had like 6 hours left, but apparently not. Okay guys, one of my complaints about the Allpowers was that you couldn't see the in and the out. This is pretty much the entire app. There's not any other screens, but it is showing me I have 74 watts, 65, 57 coming in. I think a cloud is passing over. And I've got 29 watts going out. I can turn on the lights with the app. So that's pretty cool. I can turn on the different power master buttons with the app. That's nice. And yeah, it's nice to see the input and output on the app. Now let's talk about the solar panels. So this is the Allpowers 140 watt solar panel. It's got 2 clips here and 4 panels. So it has this little zip pocket here. This is where all the cords are stored. So it's got all sorts of different adapters, and it's a pretty long cord, which is nice. I can get my battery in the shade. Okay, so where to put my battery? 97, 98... 99, 100, 101. This battery is really amazingly small and light for how much power it holds. It's pretty impressive. It looks like it might top out at 102. Okay, so we'll leave that and see if we can get it to 100 in the next maybe 4 hours till 6 o'clock. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how far we can go. And I suppose I will put this in the van. That's probably the best spot for it. Or maybe I'll just put it in the shade here. I think I'm gonna have to move it already. There's just the tiniest bit of shade there, and it's affecting how much. So this might be a little bit of a game today, just moving this all around. Yeah, moving it around is a little bit of, since it's got 4 panels and 4 legs, it's a little bit more work. All right, well, I'm too far away from my van for shade, so I'm gonna put it, there's quite a bit of shade here behind the panel. It's up to 24%, 103 watts going in, so that's pretty good. Now, and it's 69% charged. So let's see if I can flip here. So let's see, I started it at 1:30 and it's 4:30 now. So it's been 3 hours. That's pretty good. 70% in 3 hours. They're still getting 34 watts even with this much shade. That's impressive. It's at 77%. Let's see, I'll move it to my last remaining bit of sun here. Unless I want to go up the hill a bit. Let's see, it's going to come this way, the shade, so 77%. I don't know if we'll get to 100, but probably get up to 80. And that's not too bad starting so late in the day. So it's 6 o'clock and I started this at 1:30. So it's been 4.5 hours and it's gotten to 83%. That's pretty good. Maybe another 2 hours, maybe 6.5 hours. Might have gotten it to 100% because I know it goes slower once it gets to 80. So, all right, little battery, good job. Quite a few little crannies, like the seam is there. So it has a couple little pebbles in there and whatnot. All right, good job, Allpowers. All right, so how did the Allpowers do? I ran it all day yesterday and a little bit this morning. It tapped out earlier than I thought it would. It did run my 700 watt water kettle, which, you know, not many things will run that. But it kind of ran out of power sooner than I thought it would, and the display wasn't completely accurate with when it would run out. I did find in the manual, it says this: if you plug in devices that drain a high voltage, then the charging level of this unit can drop very quickly, and you may not get precisely 606 watt hours. On the flip side, if you're recharging devices that draw wattage more slowly, you will get closer to 606 watt hours from this unit. So maybe that's what happened. I ran my kettle first thing yesterday morning when this was at 100%, and maybe that drained it more than it said it did. I'm not sure. But the fact remains that it ran my water kettle, it ran my fridge for many hours, ran my internet, charged my devices, ran my laptop. What else did I do with it? Oh, I plugged my keyboard into it. So it did pretty good. And, you know, it's super small. Whatever downfalls this might have, I think the fact that I can put it in my little side pocket there makes up for a lot. Maybe all power stations are like that. When you plug in something with really high wattage, you don't quite get the full watt hours out of it. I don't know. Now let's talk about the solar panels. So I had to move them around quite a bit, mostly because I didn't know the shade of the area. I didn't quite know where it was going to be sunny. It's nice that it's 140 watts because that gives you a little bit more of a boost if you have any shade, you know, if it's partially shaded, that sort of thing. The four panels is a little bit of a pain though. It's a little tough to maneuver around. They're a little heavy. So there's a little bit of effort involved with that. So is it worth the extra watts? I don't know. At its height, this was pulling, I think a little over 100 watts was the best it got. Full sun, not a cloud in the sky. I'm not sure you're really getting 40 more watts of power with this, 140 versus a good 100 watt panel. But it is pretty small. It is pretty skinny here. So that might determine, you know, whether you get it or not as well, is where will you put it and where will it fit. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. Check the link below for any discount codes or some links to buy this. Hit the green circle to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.